Part 2, Act 2. I'm gonna get my handy-dandy little booklet out to help me. Okay, you know what? Don't judge. Okay? It's been a while. Okay? I went through my phase. I bought the book, read the book, listened to the musical a few more thousand times, and then I was done. Okay, so no judging. Alright, so Rose is back on stage again, acting in a much better play, and she has a full audience this time, and she's a lovely leading lady. That's the song, Leading Lady. Marcel sings it to her, and he's like, "You're my perfect leading lady." And then Alex comes in, and oh, this is my favorite part.
You'll never guess who's turned up. You'll never recognize him. 12 years on and still as handsome.
Later, don't I ever get a minute to
I
myself?
love it.
I'll
So
see
good.
him later.
I don't know why I love that part, but that part in general, it's just like, when I was listening to the album back when I was 14, I was like, ooh, I like this part. Don't, you know what? Shush. And then Alex and Rose catch up, basically, and then Alex sees that Rose is definitely toying around. Shut up! Sorry, Socks wants attention. Okay, so he sees that Rose is definitely toying around with this boy, Hugo. He's like her boyfriend, kind of. She has, like, affairs with young men all the time now. She's, like, 40 with a daughter and has affairs all the time. That's cool. But anyway, she's still beautiful, so I guess she's allowed. And then it skips, and then Rose is like, "Hey, Alex, come home with us to the chateau, to the villa, and we will hang out, basically. And you can meet my daughter." And he's like, "That sounds great." So he goes with her. And then it switches to George putting his daughter to bed. And then George sings about how, sure, there are all these great things you could do. Like, you could do what I did when I was younger and party all the time. But having a daughter, really, there's nothing really to beat the joy of having a kid. And so, he sings all their pleasures. And then they all go home and meet up, and then they're talking about how Juliet is supposed to meet us. Oh crap! Here, look, a letter. And then it switches to Julieta in Venice, being like, "Big surprise!
I can't be with you this weekend, but don't be cross. You should."
And then she sings,
"There is more to love."
"There's One Love," which I would think would be a great audition song. I contemplate it all the time, and yet I never act on that. And then goes on to Alex and Jenny meeting up with the song Mermaid Song, where they talk about how Jenny is a mermaid. And it's kind of a precursor, prelude to their falling in love. Yeah, I know, I ruined it. Whatever.
Nothing about sailors.
I do.
19 years difference? Yeah, 19-year difference. She's 13 and he's 35. Yeah, he's 35. There's 19 years. He's 19. Is it in Rose?
Be foolish enough to go near your rock.
Anyway, so they meet and Jenny's like, "Could I tempt you?" basically, and he was like, "No, I'd stay with you," but he doesn't. Okay, so then it goes on to Alex and Rose all talking and hanging out, and Alex professing his love to Rose still, and Rose being like, "No, I can't do that," and I love George. So he just comes and hangs out with them a lot. Alex over the next 2 years. Jenny then is 15, and they're really great friends, and they joke around, and they're super close. And Rose starts to get a little suspicious and jealous, and George is a little upset and jealous of Alex, and then Jenny's 15th birthday, she shows up in this dress. Okay, I forgot this part, but this dress, it's important, because in Act 1, Rose puts on this dress, and it's a dress that belonged to George's wife, and he has a freak out and a panic attack when he sees her in it. But then, Jenny shows up in the dress, and she looks just like her mother. But instead of having a freak out, George is like, "You look gorgeous," and they dance and sing "The First Man You Remember," and it's George being like, "I want you to love me, I want to be your first man." your father. And then Alex, and then Jenny's like, Alex, dance with me. Alex, he's the first man I love. And she says this to her mom, Rose, and Rose is like,
Make me fall
FML.
in love.
FML, basically. Because I don't want to cuss on here, on YouTube. George,
I
like,
came to watch
they're
a
at a
circus, not an
circus, and Jenny
overgrown
and
child.
Alex are laughing together, and George has a blow up.
So
And
either
then
watch the
they
circus or just
sing
be.
this song.
Love and your world can become a madhouse. Love and your world can become a
Basically, it's called Falling, and they're all just like falling in love with they're
And my
all talking about how crazy their life is now that they're all falling and in love with each other, and it's all crazy and ridiculous. And
drug to
yeah.
make me mad.
And then Alex and Jenny are in Jenny's room that night, and Jenny is like, put me to bed. He like puts her to bed sometimes and tells her night stories. And then she's like, can you just stay with me? I just want to stay with you in bed tonight. Just sleep with me. Just sleep, like, not sex. Dirty minds, all of you. Anyway. And then Alex is like, no, okay, I guess.
I was
And
wrong.
then she falls
He's-
asleep on him, and then he's like, ew. And then he goes over to the wall, and he's like, grab him.
He's in
Because
the
it's on stage, you know. So he's at the wall, and he's
Jenny,
like, crap, I'm in love with her.
my
And on
Jenny.
the other side of the wall
I
is George being like,
can't let him take you.
I know what he's doing. I know what he's in there. Oh! So George comes running up, but before he gets to the door, he has a heart attack. He falls, and Alex goes out the door and sees George and freaks out, and George is dead.
George!
And there's a funeral, and Julieta comes and sings a song, Wine and the Dice, all about George.
Hand me the wine and
And
the
he-
dice.
Anyway,
I want my carnival now. Why I have thirst and lust.
that's the kind of guy he was. And then Julieta and Alex start dancing together, and they like have this instant attraction, and then later they sleep together, and Jenny sees it. Like she follows Alex and sees them, and so she runs away off in tears, and then Alex goes to find her in like 20 minutes after that.
That's
20
what
minutes.
being grown up
And he's
means,
like, hey,
then
what's
please leave
up?
me behind.
Let's talk.
My
you and
body really ruled me.
And then,
We both know all
Jenny's
too
like,
well. You end up
this is
with a
my
lover
favorite
locked
part of the
inside a
entire
prison
show.
cell.
This part, because I had
Said that
aspirations of being
Romeo
Jenny when I was that
was a
age.
monster.
I know, ridiculous,
Why are
right?
you-
Well, I was in love with Michael Ball, so
I'm
that was
as
my
old as
main, you know.
Juliet.
That's what I had aspirations of meeting
What are
Michael
you
Ball,
frightened
acting with
of?
him and singing with him,
Where do you know?
and fainting
You
all over the
know
place because
you
he's
love me.
gorgeous.
Love,
Oh my gosh,
love
but he's old.
changes everything.
I
Turns the
still want
tide
to be
back.
Jenny. And John
Breaks the
Farley would have been a great Alex to my Jenny.
Jenny, we're
Farley's
behaving
totally
like a
17 now. I'm too old to
pair.
play 13. Wow. Maybe 15. I bet I could do it.
Going to marry her.
So anyway, favorite part of the show. And then Alex is like, no, I can't be with you. I want to, but no.
Would
You're
you
15.
marry
And then he meets up with Rose, and Rose is like, I love you, stay with me, I don't want to be alone. I love you. And then he goes off with Julieta. And Julieta's like, well, Jenny will be a woman in like 3 years. What are you gonna do then? And Alex is like, love changes everything. Like, he just... Oh! And that's the musical. That's how it ends. Alright, you know, whatever. That's cool. I could deal with that. Anyway. I was in love with this musical forever, but it's twisted, and anyone who sees it, like, I'm in love with twisted musicals. With the aspects of love. They listen to aspects of love that are like, what the hell is wrong with you? That's twisted. That's weird. And I'm like, I don't know. There's an underlaying, like, romantic, oh god, it's so gorgeous, and the music and the lyrics and the feeling. I think what really gets me about these musicals is there is just such emotion in them, and it's just so packed and full, and they're so passionate. It just, it gets me, you know? It's like these musicals, there's just this intensity and this passion, and you're drawn in, and it's gorgeous. Maybe I just have a passion and intensity that's, you know, it's like, I can't explain it. You don't want me to anyway. Aspects of Love, though. Highly recommend. London cast, gorgeous voices,